more day of this just to make sure you know slope-intercept form, okay? So again, you should be getting really, really good at this. If not, you need to let me know. So we need to realize what y equals mx plus b form is. Oh, don't worry about that, by the way. Okay, so if you ever want to write these down, you can. Okay, so first thing we want to leave the y. Please note, it's doing keep change. That's really a negative 2y. So I'm going to first subtract the 4x, okay, and we get a negative 2y plus 8 equals 4x, and that's a negative. Now you could write plus 0 if you want. You don't need to. Minus 8, and that's going to go at the end because it's not an x, so those are not like terms. And you could even put a negative x or minus x. It doesn't really matter. And then the last step, I divide by negative 2. And I divide everything by negative 2. And that gives me a positive 2x. You could write 2 over 1 if you wanted, and a negative 4. Again, you might see this when I give it to you like that. These two are interchangeable. Okay, next one. Remember, if you need to, you can draw that line in. I forgot to mention that. Now I want to leave this part and get rid of the constants. The constants are just numbers that have no variables attached. So we still have the 3y. We still have the negative 8x, but now that is negative 15. Be careful. If you don't believe me, check it in the calculator. And now you divide everything, okay? So we just have a y. We have negative 8/3, and we have a negative 15, or you could say negative 8/3 x minus 15. Okay, now I just want to take a minute and review. For this one on the left, I look at that and I double check if I were asked you to graph that. My y-intercept is negative, so I start on the negative 4, but my slope would be a positive, and that's what the graph should represent. Over here, my y-intercept is negative, so again, it would start at down 15, but my slope is a negative slope, so it needs to go in the opposite direction according to Mr. Slope Guy. Okay, so some of the problems from today's worksheet. So if you want to take that out, here's some of the problems. Okay, so number 8, again, line it up if you need to. Okay, so first thing, I'm going to minus x. Remember, that is a 1. You have 1x there. So you have 5y equals 8x minus 1x is 7x. Remember, this is a minus 1x. Minus 20. You could change that to plus a negative if you want. We're going to divide everything by 5. And we're going to leave that as an improper fraction. The bigger is bigger than the bottom, but don't make that a mixed number. And minus 4. Now think to yourself, do you see that y-intercept starts at down 4, but my slope is a positive 7/5. So my slope would be positive. When you graph those, you should check that. Now this one, I'm going to distribute, and I'm going to get negative 6y. Now I'm also going to change my minus sign to plus the opposite. Plus a negative 2 times a negative 1 is a positive 2. And this is really a negative 1x. Okay, so now I'm going to start by adding that 1x. Okay, so you get negative 6y plus 2 equals a positive 1x. Then I'm going to minus 2. Remember, if there's nothing there, you always can write a plus 0 at the end if it makes you happy. So we have a positive 1x, and a minus 2. Okay, if you want to make it plus a negative 2, that works as well. Now I'm going to divide everything by negative 6. Ooh, and it looks bad, but remember, I'm not asking you to graph this, so that's okay. So this is a negative 1/6 x plus a negative over a negative is a positive 2 over 3 reduces to 1/3. That's tricky, but again, as long as I'm not asking you to graph it, you're okay. Okay, number 10. First thing, I'm going to make this plus the opposite, and I'm going to minus the 2x. Okay, now that's a negative 1y equals, now x's need to go in the front. Okay, make that plus the opposite, and then I'm going to divide everything by negative 1 to get rid of that part. Okay, so now I have y equals a positive 2x plus a negative 1 divided by a negative 1 is just 1. Okay, so just kind of note when you're graphing these, that means it starts at a positive 1 and your slope is up 2 over 1 or down 2 over 1, but it's going to have a positive slope and a positive y-intercept, and that would need to be represented on your graph. Okay, number 13, distribute, change, keep change, and that gives me 3x plus, careful, a negative 3 when you distribute, and I have a 2x plus a negative 1y. I'm just going to put it there so I don't forget it. Okay, now I'm going to combine x's. So I'm going to minus the 2x. So I have 1x plus a negative 3 equals a negative 1y. So when I divide everything by negative 1 to get y by itself, I get a negative 1x plus a positive 3, because that's a negative divided by a negative, equals y. Now I'm just going to flip-flop them because I want y equals mx plus b. So if I were saying graph these, you should be thinking to yourself, I'm starting at a positive 3, but my rise over run is negative 1 over 1, negative 1 over 1. So even though your y-intercept is positive, your slope is negative. Always double check that in your brain. Okay, so you have another worksheet. Hopefully you have out. Check it and your daily formative. We do have a test coming up, so let me know if you have any questions.